speaking of moderate Republicans or Republicans who are considered relatively reasonable, for many, I think this reputation is undeserved. And the subject of the next two clips is certainly that. So Nancy Mace is a member of the House of Representatives. She's a member of the Republican Party representing a district in South Carolina. And Nancy Mace has been the subject of multiple videos of mine because, to me, she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She has repeatedly been on MSNBC, CNN, I think ABC, like the major news networks. She's not just a creature of Fox News. And she is seen by many people, including Bill Maher, when he did an interview with her, that, you know, you're one of the reasonable ones. You seem reasonable. She did some sort of correspondence center where she was one of the guest speakers, along with freshman Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost, who was her counterpart, who was a really great congressman. And she was funny. She gave some great jokes. She dropped some profanity. So she seemed really relatable. The problem is that Nancy Mace has proven again and again and again that when push comes to shove, Luke, she is no different from anyone in the Freedom Caucus or James Comer, Jim Jordan, or anybody like that. She has aligned herself with the element in the Republican Party investigating President Biden and Hunter Biden. She's part of the House Oversight Committee. She is basically the lancer. She's one of the knights in James Comer's chessboard. And she did an interview with Fox News' Maria Bartiromo about the recent developments that their key witness, the Republican Party's key witness that they misplaced for weeks, well, we found him, and he has been federally indicted for corrupt behavior related to being like an unregistered foreign agent and acting on the behest and in the interests of China. So I want to play these clips, and then we can
currently a fugitive.
Currently a fugitive.
This is the quote-unquote credible whistleblower we've been hearing so much about.
Nothing says credibility, Luke, like being a fugitive, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing.
Reaction to this indictment of Gal Luft?
Well, no one should be surprised here. I don't trust the DOJ or the FBI. They are trying to silence our witnesses. This is a way to do that. He deserves to testify before the Oversight Committee. We have a lot of questions. We want to know why the evidence he brought forth to the FBI in that Brussels meeting in 2019 was not followed up on. And the irony here is not lost on anyone. Charging him for failing to register as a foreign agent. Well, I have a question for the DOJ and the FBI this morning. What was Hunter Biden doing with millions and millions of dollars from foreign countries advocating and lobbying on their behalf? I mean, really, this is obscene that they're not charging Hunter with the same crimes they're charging this guy.
All right, Luke. So just before I turn it over to you, I just want to do a quick fact check here, just for everybody's benefit. Gal Luft, who is, again, the Republican star whistleblower, their highly credible, alleger of misdeeds against President Biden and the Biden family, who, as you say, is a fugitive, who is now federally indicted. This investigation, which has ultimately led to his indictment, it began in 2019. I really want to point that out there. So when Nancy Mace and other Republicans are like, this is a conspiracy by the DOJ and the FBI to throw us off investigations into Biden, the investigation into Gal Luft began under the Trump administration. I know that doesn't matter to a lot of MAGA cultists, but that should matter for those of us who understand
And one of the things that he's being charged in relation to is him peddling influence with, wait for it, Trump, through a Trump advisor. But do they care about that? No. It's actually bribing or attempting to bribe a Trump advisor before Trump got into office after he was the president-elect. And that is not concerning. But Biden, and she mentioned that Hunter Biden should be getting charged with what Gal Luft is being charged with. But evidence, Nancy, evidence matters. And there's evidence against Gal Luft. She says, oh, he's a part of this influence peddling operation. He's been getting paid to influence the government or whatever. You haven't actually proven that. Just because you repeat it over and over doesn't make it true. And a lot of people genuinely think something solid has been proven on Hunter Biden. Just because people like Nancy Mace, who, like you said, get portrayed even by some more center-left outlets as, oh, a more moderate Republican, have repeated over and over and over again that Hunter Biden has done these things and it's been proven, and that's just not the case. And as this goes on, you realize how unserious and how humiliating this whole attempt to paint Biden as the most corrupt president, as Trump said during a recent event, it's just been so at every turn humiliating, because when you start with the accusation and then go try to find the evidence, sometimes it doesn't quite work out. And that's what they've been up to.
They've been repeatedly stepping on rakes in this respect, and we're going to play a second clip here in a second where, to me, it's just a full mask-off moment for Nancy Mace. But before we do, I do want to say that this is the problem with Mace and others like her, because she weaponizes her reputation for reasonableness to do just that. She is there to add credibility to the hyper-partisan actions of Jim Jordan, of James Comer. And she, like I said, she is one of their most persistent surrogates. Like, she constantly is doing interviews on Fox News and other outlets as well, casting these aspersions against President Biden and the Biden family. This is incredibly dangerous. And this next clip right now, this to me is just a full mask-off moment. After watching this, nobody, the most generous person with the benefit of the doubt should ever regard Nancy Mace as a reasonable Republican. So let's play the clip.
Hard to try to figure this out. We don't have a lot of time, but we are going to work as hard as we can and deliver as much evidence as we can to the American people so that they can decide whether or not Joe Biden should be in prison, or any member of his family as well.
Josiah, they say, what has Trump been saying and the MAGA movement been saying right now since Trump's indictments? The left is rooting on their political enemies being put in jail, being locked up just because they're political enemies, not based on actual evidence. Right here, all they have are real loose accusations against Biden based on apparently not credible sources. And that's enough to say the American people need to know if Biden should be in prison before proving any of these things. But Trump, who we can listen to and actually witness evidence against him that is pretty darn damning, that is horrible for us to want him to be held accountable for that. But Biden being held accountable for something they haven't proven him doing is definitely the focus in their mind.
Yeah. So again, there's so many issues with this. Number one, just the American people are so often gaslit, and this is part of the thing that we talked about in completely different contexts. Facts don't speak for themselves. And there's a quote attributed to Mark Twain where it's essentially like a lie travels around the world twice in the time that it takes the truth to lace up its shoes. This is the danger right here. She's able to say these words with impunity on Fox News, which, after everything, is still one of, if not the most, it's got the highest ratings out of all the mainstream news networks. So that's a major outlet. And of course, alternate source of conservative media like Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire and Stephen Crowder and others are going to be regurgitating these notions. So there is a strong propaganda arm in the mainstream and alternate media behind these claims, Luke. But the other problem is, again, the recurring theme, the asymmetry of expectation. So as you say, Donald Trump is literally on tape saying that he has defense information, classified defense information, national defense information, which he shouldn't have, which he did not declassify, which he can no longer declassify, all by his own admission, showing them to unauthorized persons. Well, that's kind of vague to MAGA. There's not a lot there. And by the way, even if there is, it's so divisive. How dare we? How dare we
right.
weaponize the Justice Department against a political opposition to the president? And even if he did do a crime, I mean, it would just tear the country asunder. And then in the same breath, the same people who have a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the evidence against Joe Biden that Jack Smith has against Donald Trump, well, they're freely saying, hey, maybe he should go to jail. It's just what. But again, she doesn't care. She doesn't care, and her colleagues don't care, because they can say these things. They can ascribe one standard for Democrats and for President Biden on Monday and complain about a wildly different standard on Tuesday. Like it's just there's no holding them to account.
They'll be rewarded for it. They will be rewarded. They'll get to go on Fox News. You don't hear the reasonable Republicans being invited on Fox News. Nancy Mace will be. And it's because she'll say stuff like that and she'll get a bigger profile. And it's really, really sickening. The exact opposite things than what we should want incentivized are being incentivized in this current political environment, especially with the right wing, but in a sense across the political spectrum. And as you indicated at the beginning, maybe Republicans, everything doesn't center around Hunter Biden in the world. Maybe there's other things in this world than Hunter Biden's laptop, because, you might remember after the Titan submersible tragedy, a lot of right-wingers started saying that was a distraction from the Hunter Biden story. And then the Trump indictment was supposed to be a distraction from the Hunter Biden story. And then an investigation that started before they even started making these accusations was really just preparing to go after a guy who they knew eventually would coordinate with Republicans to do this. It makes no sense unless Hunter Biden is the center of your entire reality.
Yeah.
Strange. Get over the obsession, guys.
All these conspiracy theories are unfalsifiable. And it's also interesting that President Biden is simultaneously this omnipotent, omniscient chess master able to move various federal agencies and international, interests to shield his son and himself from influence or from accountability. But he's also like a senile octogenarian at the same time. So it's like Schrodinger's Biden, Schrodinger's Joe. It's whatever you want him to be. You want him to be omniscient and omnipotent and sinister like Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars? Well, that's what he is. But if you also want him to be this doddering, senile octogenarian, he's that too. He's both of these things simultaneously to the Republican Party, and they don't care about consistency. As you say, they're not going to be punished for it. They're going to be rewarded with subsequent appearances from Fox News, who apparently have not learned their lesson from the Dominion Voting's defamation suit.
Right.
And quite frankly,
sorry.
Nancy Mace is also going to be on. She's going to be back on Meet the Press, Luke. She's going to be back on CNN. She's going to be back on ABC. I bet. I assure you.
Thank you so much for watching. For the outro on this video, I want to plug Josiah's channel. Hit them with it, Josiah.
Hey, everybody. I appreciate you watching. You can find me at youtube.com/@Pondering Politics, one word, Pondering Politics. If you like progressive commentary that focuses on coalition building with other elements of the left and calling the Republican Party out for what it's become, I hope you'll view my channel, give me a like and subscribe and some feedback. Again, youtube.com/@Pondering Politics. Thanks again.